Hey Clashers, next Clashmas update video, we're going to talk about the big winter update in Clash of Clans. And today we're going to concentrate more on the stats and everything around the super miner. How to use them, how to make good use of this new super troop, and everything around it. The main super effect, if you want to call it like this, like the bomb which they're going to let go after they're going down. We have already shown that yesterday, but today we're going to take a look at the stats. 24 housing space, and their offense, their attack kind of works as the Inferno Dragons as well, with stacking up over time. This is kind of like how overall it works. I will show you in just a second how this looks like, but take a look at that. How does this look like for you? It's supposed to be a fire spirit, but is it just me who just sees Shaun the Sheep? I don't know, maybe I'm just a little bit whatever in my head, but I think we should jump into some gameplay of the super miner and how exactly he works. But before that, if you want to support me and you're using any or buying anything in game, make sure to use the creator code iTzu. Thank you so much for that. Let's dive in. We can now see that the super miner is working as a regular miner when it comes down to the movement. But, well, overall, when he's attacking, he's stacking up slowly, which means 200 damage in the first place, and then stacking up to 600 damage with every single attack. This is quite a lot. Even the Town Hall he can take down eventually. You just need to have a freeze and hopefully no builder around it, because this could delay things a little bit. But otherwise, it's a nice damage source, and especially you can combine it with quite a few different things. The bomb after that deals decent damage. I mean, overall 1.8k, which means 1,800 damage with the bomb explosion after, which you should not underestimate. Why exactly? Well, because you can not only use it in offense, but as well in defense. There are some great ways on where you can use it, and what are pretty good counters. Queen Charge. I feel like everything counters Queen Charge by now, but at least it makes Queen Charge a bit harder. At the same time though, let's see how bad it really is. So, we have now the town damage on the Queen, and we have the miners. It's a regular miners, you see, which means 2 super miners and 2 barbarians or something you want to place. We have the first giant bomb going off, the second, and the Queen is dead. That's a lot of damage, especially for lower town halls. This is going to be interesting, okay? But this does not only affect the Queen, it does affect all of those ground strategies. Electro Titan is pretty significant, but let's take a look at super bowlers who are even ranged. You can see we have lost 2 of our super bowlers with going through those super miners. So overall, it's a great counter to counter some specific ground attacks if you set up your base like this, but sometimes you don't have any reward whatsoever if you can combine Warden and ability to block the Town Hall and the explosion of the miner. The next thing a lot of people wanted to test me is the super miner Blimp. Let's compare it with the Yeti Blimp, okay? We have a raged up classic Yeti Blimp. 2 Yetis, 1 Valkyrie, 1, I think a Giant and a Barbarian. That's it. Now let's use, as well, 2 super miners and 2 barbarians and a rage. A lot of people have said this looks super broken, it should be really OP, and overall, just game breaking. It should be, yeah, just crazy how strong it should be. Okay, it's not that strong. Just forget it, don't use it. Don't do it. Yeah, it's... The explosion radius is just way too small. You cannot rage up the damage of the explosion, which means it's not as effective. So, yeah. Super Miner Blimp, I wouldn't go for it. Next thing is, well, the hybrid between Super Miners and the Event Troop. But there is a problem. Can you spot it? That's right, the housing space. You just do not have enough space to actually use more riders. You can get rid of another wizard, but you need some funnel troops. If you don't go in with Coco Dunes, Baby Dragon or something for funneling, in a regular attack, this kind of sucks. So I would not really go for this type of hybrid. Instead, what we're going to test now is the more regular version. We're going to compare the old Queen Charge hybrid to the new Queen Charge Super Hybrid. Okay, like Queen Charge yeah, I think Queen Charge Super Hybrid sounds kind of cool. So what we have in this one is 5 super miners and 9 hog riders. This sounds already way better than having 5 super miners and 3 to 4 raiders. I think it's just way better. So what we do on this one, and why I picked this base as an example, is because so far in Town 15, Queen Charge Hybrid, the big weakness it has is ring bases, stacked core bases. This is where the Queen Charge Hybrid is really struggling. On any other base, Queen Charge Hybrid was totally fine. Just those stacked core bases is a nightmare for any hybrid attacker. Because there's just too much damage and the HP of the mines is just not enough. In addition, we have a lot of traps in the core because defending different type of blimps, super archers, super wizard blimps, we have giant bombs in the core, we have the bomb towers in the core, we have spring traps in the core. This is a big problem. And now, at the same time, where people might say, okay, it's through the housing space of the mines is just way too high, this is where the super mine is really shining. Spring traps do not affect them. Spring trap capacity is not high enough to actually get rid of super miners. Which means, if you have spring traps in your core, it won't work. This is really significant. And with having more hit points, they are way better versus most of the splash damage defenses like poison towers, multi-inferno towers, and everything stacked up. The only weakness they have is obviously the monolith, so you have to be careful with that. Other than that, with the Warden ability now in the core, we're looking pretty good. I'm going to play the exact same attack in just a second with the old Queen Charge Hybrid, okay? So we have a comparison one by one. What is better, the new hybrid or the old hybrid? What is overall better? That's the big question. For now, we have a couple of troops in the core surviving, actually. They're really tanky and can even tank through the Town Hall explosion, which is pretty, again, as I said, significant. So, with everything stacked up in the core as well, the explosion can get quite some nice value overall as well. With this being said, it's a nice 3-star, and we are happy because we are finally able to somehow overpower those stacked core bases. Let's now compare everything with the regular hybrid. We're jumping in, or we would start with the hybrid, okay? So I won't repeat the Queen Charge part, that would be kind of boring. So hybrid is in, the old regular hybrid, everything as normal, king funneling, hybrid in, heal spell first, monolith not as strong, but scatter, everything really strong. So we kind of have to phrase that. Then getting further into the base, we have a double bomb tower. This is by now pretty normal because there is so many blimps which can actually threaten a town hall dive that you have to make sure that those bomb towers are in the core, which makes your life as hybrid attacker not easy. And take a look at those spring traps. Those spring traps near the core are taking down so many miners and hawk riders as well, which is crazy. By now the town hall explosion is off and the town hall poison is there as well, which means those hybrid troops are having a rough time. Queen is pathing exactly the same way as the last time, but this time we have too many defenses left, which means this is not going to 3-star. This is how most of the hybrid attacks look like so far versus compact core bases. And the attack which I've showed you before, this is how now Queen Charge Hybrid looks like versus those stacked core bases. So I think it's an improvement. It's not not a lot, but it's especially good versus those stacked core bases with having more hit points. This is where those are really shining. Now, though, this is not my favorite use case for super miners. Let's jump into my favorite attack strategy with those super miners, which I think I might even regular play in Legends. So, what is this? I am playing a Blizzard, which means a Blimp which is delivering super wizards into the core. And one trick which I have already showed you is using a heal spell to keep those super wizards alive. The big problem though is most of the time we had nothing really like a strategy which could make good use of the heal spell if you don't use them at the town hall. Because if there is no poison tower, you don't need to use the heal, and the heal in most cases, if you're going with ground, is just useless. Let's say you're playing a super wizard Electro Titan smash, and why would you use a heal spell on Electro Titans? It's not getting you anywhere. It's not really good, it's not really solid, it's not really useful, just don't do it. Instead now, we have super miners, which are using the heal spell anyways, right? So investing one at the town hall is totally fine. The next thing at this point is just about pathing, which means it's kind of comparable. I would say it's kind of the ground version of Blizzard Hydra, like the Blizzard version where you're going to play Dragon and Dragon Riders after. At the same time though, it is not affected by the majority of traps. You can go through black mines because you're using ground troops, that's obvious, I know. You can go through spring traps because your troops are having too many housing space to trigger them eventually. So it's just at the same time ignoring walls because you're going under them. So overall it's just a way better version of of Super Wizard Blimp with Hydra. It's working really good. You can see now here with my king and queen funneling the outside, our super mines are going in. The only downside with this is that the warden and the royal champ are not protected all time. So what I might want to change is using actually Lassie on the Warden. So Lassie can tank for the Warden for the Royal Champion. It's not a lot, but it's some hit points. So in the time where the super mines are going underground, nothing is protecting your heroes. So why not just use Lassie, for example, for that, instead of, for example, the Poison Lizard, which I have right now active. There's a lot of things which you can still optimize, and feel free to let me know how you would use that super miner or what your favorite use case so far is. I think if I would need to rate it, like from the strength overall, I would say it is solid. It's not game-breaking strong, it's not the crazy new OP troop in the game, but I think it's an improvement if you like miners overall. It's again up to you if you have enough Dark Elixir to activate them, but I like to use them, as I said, in this specific strategy. I think especially for Legend it's going to be a huge improvement if you like Queen Charge Hybrid, because they are way more tanky and they can overpower those ring bases, those stack core bases way better in my opinion. Otherwise, well, let me know what you think about this new super troop. We're going to talk tomorrow about the new features in the clan capital, which means the new districts more in depth. We'll talk some numbers about the new defenses, the new spell, and how to best use them in some nice strategies. So make sure to tune in tomorrow again, same time as always, and I will see you then. Until then, and of course as always, bye bye.